we're going to go ahead and kick things off with the 49ers versus the Cardinals recap today. And, I just have to say the Niners went in there and they kicked ass. Brock Purdy was great. Christian McCaffrey was phenomenal. And, this team is honestly, it feels pretty historic right now. I would say this team is better than the team that they had in 2019 when they went to the Super Bowl. I'm pretty confident about, saying that. I think Brock Purdy is way better than Jimmy Garoppolo ever was. And, I just think that, McCaffrey is probably the best weapon that I've ever seen on the 49ers. My entire, time paying attention to football. I would say my whole life, but that's ignoring 1999 to 2010 when I really started paying attention to sports, right? But McCaffrey is just awesome. He had 4 touchdowns, and the Niner defense, they gave up 16 points, but they're going to give up points here and there. When they're scoring 30 points, other teams have to go to desperate measures in order to stay in the ball game. They're not just going to get trampled and rolled over. Although I think if there's one area for improvement, I think the corners just have to, they need to improve in not allowing chunk plays. But, this team, I think, is kind of foolproof right now. And, our weekly theme, Mike, has been bringing up what would happen if the Niners played the Chiefs. And, I think this week just kind of swayed back in my favor. I'm pretty confident that the Niners could take down anyone in the NFL right now. I think if there was one team, if there was one team that would, I guess, worry me more than other teams, it might be the Buffalo Bills right now. But, like we said, it's a long season, and going forward, there might be another team that might emerge. But the Niners contain Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs was able to break out a couple runs, but for the most part, he wasn't able to kill them. Josh Dobbs played pretty well, and he ran fearlessly. Like I had said, that he ran fearlessly before. Michael Wilson, for the Cardinals, caught a touchdown, and it was actually a really close play. It was so close that maybe if they would have called that, an incompletion because he was out of bounds, maybe it would have stood as an incompletion, but it's neither here nor there. Brock Purdy just had one incompletion, and it was a ball that he threw away because, he didn't like what he saw. Purdy was nearly perfect, and, he was hitting the deep ball. Purdy was doing it all. And, it's going to be really hard to defeat this football team going forward. So, Mike, I don't know if you have any thoughts about the game, but,
I want to say Michael Wilson caught 2 touchdowns. And then McCaffrey, I think he had 4 total, right?
Yeah, McCaffrey had 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's the best weapon I've ever seen in a 49er uniform. And that's saying a lot because Deebo Samuel just 2 years ago was a great weapon, but I think McCaffrey's better.
Yeah, I'd say McCaffrey is sort of the anti-Deebo in the sense he's great as a receiver, but he is the pure runner, whereas Deebo was the pure receiver who was also a great runner. And I think, yes, McCaffrey is more dynamic than Deebo by far. And this is just McCaffrey. That's just how he's always been. But he fits so perfectly for this team and specifically for Kyle Shanahan's offense. It almost doesn't feel fair in a way. But the one thing about the Niners this season relative to, say, 2019 or even I'd say last year or years past, it feels like this defense isn't quite – it is dominant, but it isn't quite as dominant as before. And it's mostly, as you said, the cornerback play, specifically allowing chunk yardage underneath. And I mean, it comes off as a bend don't break defense. The defensive line is getting the job done, but when they don't get the pressure, it so far has led to completions, you know, and it's allowing teams to stay in games, including two teams that absolutely shouldn't, the Giants and the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, you started by saying like they outright won the game, and yeah, the Niners did, but this is another game where I want to say at one point the Cardinals were within one possession in like the third quarter, and it's like I'm not trying to undersell the Niners, like they're a top 3 team in the league by far,
Mm-hmm.
like that's a fact right now. I don't know why this defense isn't
Locking it down like they did in the
lock
past.
yeah, and demolishing like if the defense would step it up just a little bit and get back into that 2019 last year form, they would be beating teams like the Bills right now,
Mm-hmm.
And I think like you mentioned the Bills, uh I mean they had a prove it game this past weekend. They really kicked the shit out of the Dolphins. Um the Bills coming off of 2 games, including a game against the Raiders in which they beat them by probably 30, and then the Dolphins coming off a game where they beat a team by 50, and the Bills just killed them. So, um, yeah, for me right now, it's between the Bills and the Niners. And then the Chiefs game against the Jets, like they're not quite to form either. The
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs. Um,
But it's a long season. They'll
yeah,
get there by the end of the season.
yeah,
The Chiefs kind of did this last year.
yeah, and I mean that's the thing about the Niners this season is like, you pointed out that in years past they tend to start slow, but this year they're now one of only 2 teams that are undefeated, along with the Eagles, the other team,
Mm-hmm.
which is definitely interesting. Um, so if this is their slow start, right? Like we'll see how it goes come December and January.
If this is their slow start, I mean, the past would suggest that they start to really ramp up, and then Purdy's going to be dropping 50 points a game. So, if you're a Niner fan out there, you can expect 50, 60. Honestly, I mean, smash that like button if we can get the points to 100, huh? Triple digits. I'm just playing. No, honestly, I really foresee this offense just kind of scoring 30 every week. Like, how could you not with those weapons?
Yeah, and paired with the defense, I mean, like I said, bend don't break. Like, and with the stars on this defense, they're gonna get stops no matter what. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
if a team's sticking around within one possession. Like, granted, the likelihood that you guys go undefeated is so low. So I'm just gonna say,
Mm-hmm.
you guys will lose a couple games this year, and those would be the games where the defense somehow gives it up or the offense gets turnovers, like the Raiders right now, or I should just say the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
And things won't go right in some games, and that's fine because you guys again are a top 3 team, and it's not going to change. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Real quick, Fonzie is tuning back in. Fonzie, thank you for checking us out again. We really appreciate to have you in the chat. He has a great comment right here. He says, I think the fact that it was a divisional game helped the Bills top the Dolphins. I think that is a great point. You never know what happens with divisional games. And I think Mike brought up, there's just no excuse for the way that the Cardinals were in that game. You never know with these divisional games. So I think that probably had something to do with, the Cardinals being in there. They've never faced Jonathan Gannon's Cardinals before.
Yeah.
So I honestly foresee the Niners playing them even better next time. And we'll
Yeah.
see who's even the quarterback by that point, because it might be Kyler Murray. I forget what week they play the Cardinals again, but Kyler Murray might possibly be back. Could be Josh Dobbs again, or if somebody goes down, they might have to revert to somebody else.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Another thing I want to say about this game is Brandon Ayuk, dude. Brandon Ayuk is one He's one of the funnest Niners to watch right now, dude. I have to say, in all my years watching the Niners, which honestly hasn't been that long compared to like a lot of other fans, you know what I mean? Like there have been fans like, the fandom of Niners go back like way before like I was even born. Like I'm talking about like when my dad was a kid, and there I don't know if in my time watching football, I've seen a better wide receiver on the 49ers than Brandon Ayuk. You know, you can argue that Debo Samuel he had that amazing season 2 years ago, but I will take Brandon Ayuk constantly getting open over Debo's production. But if you're asking me who I would rather have the ball in their hands in open space, I'm picking Debo. Debo will run through you. He'll run past you. He will make you like regret getting out of bed in the morning and suiting up in football pads. Brandon Ayuk will he'll take your ankles in the secondary. He is unguardable, I think, on the outside. I really like Ayuk. Him and Purdy's connection is legit, and it's just so fun to watch because this the Niners foundation has been like built on Montana and Rice's connection, right? Well, actually, they won a Super Bowl before Jerry Rice, but uh, you know the whole Montana to Rice connection, the Steve Young to Jerry Rice connection. It's so iconic within this franchise, and I think Brandon Ayuk, he's playing fantastic this season. He's been playing great, ever since he got to the Niners. There was a little point where he was in the doghouse with Shanahan, but I think it was like a little bit of a miscommunication, ordeal on that front. But I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Ayuk. Yeah, but before we move on, I want to share my screen. I developed a spreadsheet in order to count, our predictions and everything. So, real quick, Mike and I both predicted that Mike, you can see it, right? You guys can see it?
Yeah.
All right. We both predicted Niners. Niners won. So, we currently, let me go ahead and include that. Currently for the Niners, we are both. Oh, I got to update this too. Wait a minute. I'll fix that later. We're 4 for 4. And we'll get to the Raiders side of it, but yeah, I'm so far so good with our predictions on 49ers this season.